Rahim. Welcome back. This is News and Views on Salam Media. And next, we're going to be talking to Mohammed Kajee. He is a PhD student at UCT. His research focuses on the impacts of climate change in freshwater systems across South Africa. Mohammed has just returned from a 2-month expedition in Antarctica and is particularly passionate about the ways in which science can be used as a tool for social justice, helping to create a world that is equitable, diverse, and inclusive of all that live in it, regardless of race, ethnicity, religion, gender, or sexuality. And one of the causes closest to his heart is the Palestinian issue. So let's understand how, the type of work that he's in can be used as a tool for social justice. Assalamu alaikum to you. Welcome to the show.
Walaikum salam, Julie. Shukran for having me on your show this morning, and assalamu alaikum to all of your listeners and viewers from wherever they may be joining in.
I was looking at your bio and thinking to myself, oh my word, what an interesting life this guy is leading. How wonderful. He goes to areas or places, to the most remote regions in the world, and imagine the experience, but also just begin to imagine that being in these remote areas still allows him to be brave enough to make a stance about inequality. Talk to us about that situation.
Yeah, I feel quite blessed in the sense that I get to do the work that I do. I still jovially think of my grandmother's comments prior to her passing, where she said, "Why are you wasting your time with these animals when you could become a doctor and help people?" And I joke about that with a lot of my colleagues and friends. But I think whilst I get to do what I'm really passionate about, i.e., working in nature and working to help create a world where we understand the natural world and we work towards protecting it and using it sustainably, the ideas of being able to help people is something that's been ingrained in me since I was a child. And I try to find ways to incorporate that in the work that I do. So specifically in Antarctica, it's been a trip that I've been trying to get onto for years now.
Wow.
And finally getting the opportunity to go down to one of the most remote places on Earth. I kind of was thinking a lot about how do I use this platform and the space that I'm in to make a difference back, I guess, in the real world where people are still facing the struggles that they face on a day-to-day basis. And the idea actually came to me out of seeing the power that just flying the Ukraine flag has had for the people of Ukraine, but also kind of struggling with the double standards that I guess we face and see in the Western world, where, for example, at a football event, if you fly the Palestinian flag, you will face a fine for bringing politics into sports. But for the entire World Cup, a lot of the countries and nations had flown Ukrainian flags, or even in the Champions League and Premier League games prior to that, had flown the Ukrainian flag as a show of support. And that kind of gave me the idea that simply a simple gesture such as taking a flag of a country or a people that are being oppressed is in itself a show of solidarity and a political statement, to show those people and the people around the world that we still care wherever we are. It's the kind of smallest gesture that you can present to show solidarity to those people.
So, what was going through your mind? Here, you're a strong supporter of the Palestinian cause and other disadvantaged peoples all around the world, but particularly Palestine in this instance. You decided you were there in one of the most remote regions in the world, and you're going to go and put up a flag there. Were you wondering what your colleagues are going to say about it, and how much of a statement was that going to make, and how many hundreds of people, or thousands of people, or millions of people globally would get the impact of that gesture of yours?
Yeah, I think those thoughts definitely did run through my mind. I'm still right now not 100% sure what the backlash of the statement will be. And I honestly and truthfully sit here a little bit nervous about whether that's going to impact my life or my career in any way. But I keep trying to remind myself that the little bit of nerves and anxiety that I face is nothing compared to what the Palestinian people face on a daily basis as their lives are at risk. And also, if we truly kind of believe in certain causes, we should be willing to take a stance against the oppression. If it means that our lives and careers are inconvenienced slightly, then that's worth the risk and the effort. So I think I was nervous in that moment, but at the same time, I was getting constant reminders as the very little internet that we had in Antarctica. Then my news feed was still full of this kind of suffering that the people of Palestine were facing. And that's, I think, something that you can't escape. I think in the time that I was there were the 10 people that were murdered in Jenin, for example. There was a 15-year-old boy that was also killed. And so the reminders of the constant loss of life, of innocent life, was there and inescapable. And I think that was kind of a daily reminder and a source of motivation that I should be trying to do something at the very least. It also did kind of help that Antarctica is a international region that's not owned by anyone. It is entirely run on a peace treaty, the Antarctic Treaty, where international collaboration and scientific research are at the forefront of how the entire region is governed. And I think that was an interesting motivating factor to think about, that this entire continent is run off the principles of peace and kindness and cooperation. And yet the people of Palestine still can't be recognized officially as an independent country.
I'm hoping and praying, inshallah, that picture of that Palestinian flag that you're holding up in that region, that very remote region, Antarctica, will go viral together with this interview and reach the people of Palestine, for them to realize that their voices are being heard all around the world, their plight, and just the issue around the occupation in their land is being recognized and being talked about all around the world. But who is the person that helped you hold up the flag, and how did that person react to what you were doing? And let's also talk about response by your colleagues back home, and obviously the campsite had lots of other foreign nationals there as well. Did you get comment from them at all?
Yeah, so I'd prefer to keep my colleague's name anonymous for now. I'm not sure if he'd have an issue with it, but I haven't actually asked him for permission. And so in keeping his privacy kind of intact, I'd prefer not to give his name. The response from the colleagues that I was with was obviously a mixed responses. The person who had taken the photo was really excited and interested in the kind of plight of the Palestinian people. There were lots of kind of questions about what flag that was exactly. I think some people were just unaware about whose flag that was and why these South African guys were holding it up. But there were some people that were just completely unaware of what the political kind of dynamic is in Palestine and Israel, for that matter. And it was quite nice to have those conversations in as balanced a way as I could to just discuss what is going on in that part of the world, and also what I believe to be wrong about the way that the Israel government seems to be going about dealing with the issue of Palestine.
Okay, can we take an ad break and come back to you to wrap up on this interview, please?
Absolutely.
Stand by.
Refugee crisis.
We didn't flee from Assad just to come and die here.
More than 6.8 million Syrians have been forced to flee their country since 2011.
All of my country destroyed now, and I fear about my children.
And another 6.9 million remain internally displaced.
Our condition is very bad. We have no proper tents, nor a proper living. I have 10 children and we do not get any aid.
The vast majority, approximately 5.2 million refugees, have found refuge in neighboring countries such as Turkey, Lebanon and Jordan. Penny Appeal South Africa has been distributing hot meals and food parcels to food insecure families and provided mobile housing to those in need. Your donation, no matter how small, can make a big difference. Visit our website www.pennyappeal.org.za or call us on 031 110 0573. Penny Appeal South Africa. Small change, big difference.
Shimmer, sparkle, captivate. Nothing less than a masterpiece. Droplets of gold inspires precious design. Platinum bursts with intricate freshness, and every pure diamond becomes more than just a girl's best friend. Voda Gold Gem Jewelers, where timeless dreams become a reality. Come to us. We tailor-make designer gold, platinum, and diamond jewelry. Trade in or remodel your old gold. Clad yourself with classy name-branded watches. We offer insurance valuation and freezer card calculation. Visit us at 534 Ridge Road, Overport, or call 031 208 9142. Voda Gold Gem Jewelers, manufacturers of fine gold and diamond jewelry.
The SANZAF Meals Distribution Project distributes over 85,000 meals monthly. With your assistance, we would like to increase our outreach to even more individuals. Sponsor a meal for as little as 12 Rand or sign up for a debit order from 48 Rand monthly. Visit us at sanzaf.org.za or call us on 011 834 6046 for more information. SANZAF, changing lives through development and relief.
Conveniently located along the banks of the Crocodile River bordering the Kruger National Park, as a guest at Buckler's Africa Lodge, one can enjoy an amazing sunrise or sunset on our spacious deck area while you catch a glimpse of some wildlife sightings along the Crocodile River. The sounds of the African savannah will greet you whilst you enjoy your morning coffee. Buckler's Africa Lodge by Tingana Collection. Buckler's Africa Lodge is ideally situated only 6 kilometers from the Crocodile Bridge Gate in the Kruger National Park. Catering for all travelers with variety, we have 4 types of the finest rooms: superior rooms, deluxe suites, and 2-bedroomed family units. Each room is equipped with the finest amenities to make your stay unforgettable. Guests can choose between the self-catering option or book their accommodation with breakfast and dinner included. Buckler's Africa Lodge is your ideal location for the ultimate Kruger getaway experience. We specialize in exhilarating and educational game drives in Kruger, tailor-made to suit your family. Inquire about our various accommodation offerings and other activities. Visit www.tingana.co.za for more information. Buckler's Africa Lodge by Tingana Collection. Experience the pulse of Africa with us.
Rejuvenating media day by day. This is Salam Media.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Just gone 1 minute after 10 o'clock. We continue our discussion with Mohammed Kajee. He is a PhD student at UCT, and he obviously has just returned from the Antarctica. And I'm kind of wondering, was this intentional that you decided to pack the Palestinian flag whilst you were packing for your travels? Is the flag still up there, or do you believe it's frozen over? And I also like your line where you say, from the river to the sea, and even from icy mountains of Antarctica, Palestine will be free, inshallah, inshallah, inshallah. Ameen. And then let me just throw one last comment at you. It's one of your own comments, and that is, you believe that science can be used as a tool for social justice. So can you respond to all of that, please?
Yeah, I think the decision to take a Palestine flag along at the start of this journey was an active decision, but I didn't know whether I was going to use it or not. And then as we were getting transported from the ship onto the Antarctic continent itself, that was the day that a 15-year-old child was killed, and I'd woken up to that news. And I kind of sat for a second and thought, I don't have much space, because we were packing backpacks that were just meant for the ice shelf. And I thought, oh, I have to try and squeeze this in. And so I actually took out my second fleece, which is meant for if you get really cold and you need an extra jacket. And I replaced that with the Palestine flag. A risky decision, but shukra, I can't complain. The weather had held up, and we didn't end up having to face any sort of emergency. But the decision to pack the flag and get onto the continent was a last minute decision. And it was largely out of having read about the murder of this 15-year-old boy in Palestine on the West Bank. And I thought, if I can try and get this photo, I think my hope is not that it goes viral or not that this gets seen all around the world, but only that it travels back to the families of the people who have been killed in the last 3 months of this year or 2 months of this year. And that they know that the deaths of their loved ones has kind of sent shockwaves that vibrated throughout the Southern Ocean and reached us all the way down in Antarctica, and that there are people in the most remote parts of the world that were thinking about them. And that's my only hope, is that the people of Palestine see that photo and know that their struggles and their plight is not forgotten, that we, especially as South Africans, still care and still, in whatever small way we can, will try to stand up to end an apartheid state's control over them.
Alhamdulillah, Alhamdulillah. And the youngster that you're referring to, his name is Fula Rasmi Abdulaziz Masalmeh, 15-year-old that was murdered by the Israeli army. So shukran to you for raising that issue and that matter. Coming back to the flag, is it still flying? Did you leave it there? What was the story with the flag, the Palestinian flag?
Yeah, and unfortunately, I did bring it back home. It's now sitting in my bedroom, and I hope to get it framed at some point with a little write-up about the actual event. But and possibly maybe at some point in the future we can get it auctioned off for charity or something like that.
Inshallah.
But unfortunately, the Antarctic Treaty means that every single thing that gets taken to the Antarctic continent also gets brought back. We try to leave the entire environment in as pristine a condition as possible. And that's part of the conservation regulations of the entire continent. So I couldn't leave the flag there as much as I would have loved to. That would have been a breach of the treaty. And also it would be just ruining what is an incredibly beautiful and pristine natural environment. But yeah, the flag currently sits in my room. I hope to get it framed and we can see what comes out of that.
Alhamdulillah. Okay, so let's look at the issue around using science as a tool of justice. And what exactly were you doing for the 2 months that you were there in Antarctica?
Yeah, so I was down in Antarctica as a researcher. Specifically, I was on an oceanography team, collecting data about the water temperature in the Southern Ocean, and kind of the end result of those data will be to try to assess how the ocean temperatures have been changing through time. So there's a big contribution towards understanding how global warming and climate change are impacting the Southern Ocean and also the Antarctic continent. In terms of social justice, I am passionate about finding ways to use education and science as a tool to help reduce inequality around the world, whether that's directly through educating people from disadvantaged backgrounds or by providing scientific information to help dispel myths and prejudices that people might have been taught in the past, especially related to race and gender.
Okay, this is a first for you, and I know that it's not about being the first to have done this as a Muslim man from South Africa, whose parents and grandparents were victims of the apartheid system. You've gone on, you've made a life yourself, you've studied, you've educated yourself, and you're in a very enviable position, might I add. You must be possibly the only Muslim person in South Africa in your position. So this is all about first, and I know that was not your intent at all. You are passionate about social justice. You are passionate about the Palestinian situation, but you have started somewhere. What next? What do you follow up after an amazing feat like this, making such a mark, making such a bold statement in a beautiful remote part of the world? What next as far as social activism is concerned for you, Mohammed Kajee?
Yeah, I think my immediate concern is to try to finish up my PhD. I'm sure my supervisors at
Inshallah.
university are screaming at the top of their lungs trying to get me back on track working on the science and kind of leaving these little side quests alone. So I don't have an immediate plan outside of just getting the work done, which is going to be quite a tiring next 6 months for myself. But as an immediate thing, I'm still involved with the university student support structure, where my main focus in terms of, I guess, social justice and activism is trying to ensure that previously disadvantaged students are not the only students that are failing. So trying to make sure that these students are given support so that they are able to pass their courses. And what we find at a lot of South African universities are students from previously disadvantaged backgrounds, especially the rural parts of South Africa, are more likely to fail and drop out of university. And a lot of my time and effort that I spend nowadays is focused on trying to ensure that that doesn't happen. And that includes finding decolonized ways to get knowledge across, to teach science, but also finding Afrocentric ways to support students that's holistic and takes into account both their kind of backgrounds in terms of what school they came from, but also their cultural backgrounds, etc.
Alhamdulillah, that is a discussion we need to have, an in-depth discussion to truly unpack all of that. And we truly do applaud you for your activism in very many different spheres. Are you planning to visit Palestine sometime soon?
That's been on my bucket list for a long time. I think that's something that both excites and terrifies me. But inshallah, I think it is something I will eventually get to do, just as I build up the courage myself to go through that process. I'm sure anyone who's ever been can tell you it can be traumatic. So I think that's something that I am very excited to do, but also nervous about embarking upon.
Inshallah, Ameen. Your message to young people or South Africa, or whoever's watching and listening to us today, what would your message be this morning before we wrap up?
I would say, as active citizens, take a vested interest in what is happening in your immediate community and society. It is our job to use whatever little privilege we have to try to make a difference in the lives of people who are less fortunate than ours. And whether that's carrying a flag and taking a photograph, or whether that's standing on the front line of a protest, any and all energy that you put into these causes can make a difference.
Inshallah, wonderful talking with you. Mohammed Kajee, PhD student at UST. Look forward to talking with you some more and just get you to share some amazing stories with us right here on Salam Media. You go well, keep us in your du'as, and Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam. Shukran for the platform.
Absolute pleasure. It is wrap-up time for me at 11 after 10 o'clock. Thank you indeed for your company this morning. Hope you've enjoyed all of the interviews as much as we've enjoyed your company. Till tomorrow morning at the same time as always, take care on the roads. Assalamu alaikum and Khuda Hafiz from me, Julie Ali.